Province is modifying parking rules outside of childcare centers. That's after this week's deadly crash at a facility in Richmond Hill. So Education Minister Paul Calandra announced that the province would be modifying parking rules to prevent the use of spaces immediately next to classrooms or playgrounds at childcare facilities, with the exception of accessible spots. It comes after an SUV drove through the window of a daycare near Yonge and Nottingham Drive on Wednesday. An 18-month-old boy was struck and killed, while 6 other kids and 3 staff were hurt. Amy O'Neill is the director of Treetop Children's Center in Toronto and says that safety is paramount, but she wonders who's going to pay for the modified parking rules outside childcare centers.
We send our children to childcare because we want them to be safe and taken care of and have their early learning development needs met. But at the same time, childcare is very costly. And to run a high quality program, you need adequate funding. And I'd like to ask whether this legislation will include full funding to implement these measures, because if not, then it will be very challenging for childcare operators to effectively meet these new standards.
And for more on this, we're joined by Chief Executive Officer of Creative Beginnings Early Learning and Care, Christia O'Connor. Christia, thanks a lot for joining us. First off, what do you want to say about this tragedy?
I mean, first and foremost, my condolences to the families that were impacted, and certainly to the families that lost a wee child. That's horrific. I think as far as the measures that are put in place or wanting to be put in place as far as safety are great. However, I think it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to find a creative solution. I know putting in barriers is an option, but the other option was removing parking spots away from childcare centers, and that poses a bigger risk. If children and their families have to walk across an active parking lot to get into the building, the risk for their safety is at risk just crossing that space. And like Amy said before too, paying for the implementation of these is a big question that's left there. But I'm wondering if the focus shouldn't be more about, the vision of senior drivers as opposed to a knee-jerk reaction for all. And I guess if we're going to do something and look for a solution for safety for children, which all of us are behind, it should be thoughtful, it should be evidence-based, it should be developed in consultation with childcare centers and municipalities.
Yeah, Christia, I'm glad that you mentioned, a knee-jerk reaction, because a lot of times in society, we are reactive instead of being proactive, especially after tragedies. But I do want to ask, what conversations, what has been said in your circle as someone, who is at a childcare facility? Have you all talked about this, and what has been said?
Yeah, so in my organization now, we're doing another expansion under CWELC, and so it's renovating an existing building to become another nonprofit program under CWELC, and then working with the building code, working with zoning, working with city and different regional levels of government. It's not so simple as just to put those in and do it. So I think the legwork even behind that aspect of just putting in barriers or moving spaces is bigger than just childcare operators saying, yes, we're behind it, we're fully supportive of safety. Even if the cost is covered, there's still the question of all these levels of government that make sure that building code is met and fire code is met. So those are other questions that are not answered either.
And also, can you just define what does safety mean for you and your team?
That's a great question. I think safety is the first priority of anyone running a quality space for children. It goes from having protocols in place inside the building to make sure children are safe, protocols in place, making sure you have quality educators. Childcare is highly, highly regulated as a profession, as a business, to make sure that children are safe. And yes, this is tragic, no doubt about it. But I'm not sure that the response is the right response to just a safety measure. It seems like without consultation, it's a bigger gap. It doesn't address, children who walk to care either, right? So what about sidewalk safety on the way to care?
We know that lawmakers have a big responsibility and a big voice, but so do parents. What is your clarion call to parents to make their voices heard in all of this?
I mean, parents have the biggest voice in all of us in childcare advocacy because they're the ones who should be able to choose a place that their children spend their days where they are safe. So I think that part of the consultation should include them. One of the things I thought about when they spoke about removing the spaces and putting them further away, I'm like, I pictured a parent, I am a parent, but I also pictured a parent trying to carry all those things in, maybe having a smaller child and an older child and trying to bring them across a parking lot where other parents are coming and going to work and dropping off their children. So what does that look like? I think parents need to be part of the development as well.
And Christia, if you could sit down with Paul Calandra face to face, what would you say to him right now?
Oh man, so many things. I think he needs to look at all aspects of childcare, making sure the goal for childcare in Ontario is that everyone has access to quality childcare under the CWELC agreement. And right now that's not happening. So safety, yes, but it's bigger than that. It's a full nationwide system that has to happen across Canada where quality measures are looked at first before we look at any sort of efficiencies at all.
Final thoughts.
I just hope that the government's listening. I hope they're listening to families. I hope they're listening to childcare operators that are looking to do whatever they can to keep children safe and support those measures in all aspects, financial and consultation.
Chief Executive Officer, Creative Beginnings, Early Learning and Care, Christia O'Connor. Thank you for your time this evening.
Of course. Thank you so much.